So hi everyone, I hope you're well today. Ready for some Dharma practice and Dharma talk. Ready to listen to the Dharma talk and then absorb your mind with it, with understanding. So we'll do the chanting straight away and be mindful, aware, conscientious. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Dayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Suha. Dayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Suha. Dayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Suha. So, time for some meditation now. Time to release the tension from your body and from your mind. And then to collect your mind and focus your mind. And then, of course, to develop more and more loving kindness. Developing a mind of equanimity, non-bias mind that is free from attachment, free from aversion, free from wanting this and free from not wanting that. So now gently close your eyes, lips gently touching, and bring your mind inside your body. And let's release the tension from the tips of the toes, all the way up the legs and up the upper torso to the shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers, and then back up to the top of your head. So we'll take a few moments to do this now. So now scan your body once more to see if there's any more tension that you can release. And now bring your mind to your breathing. The feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs. And then back out your nose again. You may notice that the air is quite cool when you breathe in on the back of your throat. The air goes past the chest area into the lungs, they expand. As a result of this, the stomach rises a bit. And then as you breathe out, the lungs compress, the stomach drops, and the air is quite warm as it passes your throat on the way out your nose. And also, if you're so inclined, you can add the extra technique of counting to 10. An in-breath and then an out-breath is 1, and so on and so forth. Don't count past 10, because we still want the breath to be the focus. If you become distracted on the way towards 10, counting to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. As you engage in this session, this practice of meditation, if your mind becomes distracted with thoughts or feelings, emotions, any mental afflictions, don't follow them. Don't grasp at them. Don't cling to them. Also, don't try to force them away or deny them. Instead, just replace your mind back onto the breath, and then these agitations or distractions will melt away. Let them go naturally by replacing the mind on the breath. And if you start to become a little bit dull mentally during this practice, then wake yourself up more by replacing the mind onto your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. So now let's feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in the practice and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness, friendliness, acceptance and forgiveness, honesty, harmlessness. Let's try our best to let go of attachment and from aversion. And even these concepts. Let go of this dualistic way of thinking and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. And also now let's radiate this loving kindness out to others, initially to our loved ones, our family and friends, filling them with this loving kindness as well, and having the wish that they have happiness and the causes of happiness, that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and that they are peaceful. Now expand this radiation of loving kindness out further now to also include strangers. May they also be happy and have the causes of happiness, and may they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and may they too be peaceful. Expanding further and further, now also include those you may regard as difficult or irritating, maybe even enemies. Fill them too with this universal loving kindness. May all of these three types of people from our own perspective, may they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they have happiness and the causes of happiness, and may they be peaceful. And may they also cause this for all those around them. And now gradually radiate this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, initially around your immediate area, to all living beings, whether they are born from wombs, from eggs, from moisture, through transformation, whether they live on the earth or even under the earth, or in the waters, whether that be salt water or fresh water, or even a tiny little puddle, whether they fly through the air. Filling all of these living beings with universal loving kindness, happiness, freedom from suffering, and peace. Now radiate the loving kindness out throughout your whole state or county, and to all of the living beings within. All the mother-like living beings. And other states and counties throughout the whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Those that you're familiar with and have an affinity towards. Those you're indifferent towards. And even those that, for whatever reason, you may have some sort of negative feeling towards. Have this loving kindness pervade throughout all of these countries and throughout the oceans that join these countries. And under the oceans. All the way to the center of the earth as well. Have this loving kindness pervade throughout the whole planet. May there be happiness, freedom from suffering, and may there be peace. Peace everywhere. and our other worlds throughout the solar system, other solar systems throughout the galaxy, and all of the galaxies throughout the universe, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space, this infinite, immeasurable loving kindness that is generated in your own mind. We are all interconnected, interdependent. All phenomena, animate and inanimate, are all interdependent. And now also be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born rise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata not yet born rise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So now we'll continue our discussion, the commentary on the Karaniya Metta Sutta, or the Buddha's teaching on universal loving kindness. As you know, we have completed a few weeks on the morality part, the first verse out of 4. And today we begin probably about the same amount of time, maybe 3 weeks, it could even be 4 weeks, something like that, to go through the 2 verses that predominantly relate to absorbing your mind with this universal loving kindness. So the meditation part of the 3 higher trainings. And of course, the 4th verse is the wisdom part, or predominantly anyway. Like I mentioned just then, everything's interdependent, interconnected, and it's the same with this teaching. We break it up into morality, meditation, and wisdom, but it's all interrelated. And just to remind you, that's why we call the Eightfold Path fold path, because everything is folding into each other. We talk about the different aspects as separate in discussion, but we should know that they are not separate from our own mind, not separate from outside phenomena. Everything is interdependent. So, 12 links of interdependency. Always remember that doctrine, remember that formula. It will help you to understand the law of karma and rebirth and how to free ourselves from this, okay, by ceasing the ignorance. Anyway, we need to develop good qualities such as this universal loving kindness to develop the conditions to be able to do that, to then traverse through the different levels of the path to enlightenment. And by the way, don't worry about thinking about what path am I on? Am I on the first path? Am I on the second, third? Have I not reached the first one even yet? Don't worry about all of these things, because that, what it does is it stops the practice. It stops the mind from being calm and open. And no need to compare yourself, as mentioned last week, to anybody. Even if you're going to compare yourself, be inspired by the great beings, okay? The Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, and so forth. Help you to get more enthusiastic in your practice. Okay, so rather than, don't be down about anything. Don't compare yourself from a point of view of pride, okay, egotistical, comparing, you could say. I think I just made up a phrase. But we'll throw that phrase away because it wasn't very good. It's gone anyway, it's finished. Okay, so now here and now, that's all we have, practice here and now. So we're going to, I'll recite the whole sutra right now, and you can just have a listen. And then we will start to do the part that we are beginning today, the meditation part. This is the work for those who are skilled and peaceful, who seek the good. May they be able and upright, honest, of gentle speech, and not proud. May they be content and easily supported, unburdened, with their senses calmed. May they be wise and not arrogant, and without desire for the possessions of others. May they do nothing mean, or that the wise would reprove. And that's what we finished the commentary on. Now we will start this part today. May all sentient beings be happy. May they live in safety and joy. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, may they all be happy. Let no one deceive or despise another being in any state. Let none by anger or hatred wish harm upon another. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so cultivate the boundless love towards all sentient beings. Radiate this boundless love towards the entire world, above and below and in all directions, without hindrance, without ill will, without enmity. Standing or walking, sitting or lying down, during all one's waking hours, may one remain mindful of this heart and this way of living that is the best in the world. Unattached to speculations, views, and sense desires. With clear vision, such a person will never be reborn in the cycles of suffering. Okay. Coming to springtime here. I think it's about 20 degrees today. So, but I did look at the weather for next week, a little glance. I think it's back down to 11 again. So up and down. I think tomorrow is going to be nice weather as well. But also with the little bit of spring, the flowers are coming, a little bit of pollen flying around a little bit. But that's life, you know, we can deal with these small little irritations, can't we? So anyway, may all sentient beings be happy. So first of all, when we're saying may, this is a wish for them to be happy, but also the wish that we to do whatever we can to cause this. So this starts, if you want to use the altruistic intention of bodhicitta, it starts with an aspiration to aspire to cause this yourself. And then, of course, then the practical aspect of the bodhicitta. So the practical being doing whatever we can. Of course, we're very limited right now, but we can, through our words, through our actions, and especially the mind, because the mind is the chief there, isn't it? It's our words and our actions come from the mind, from our intention. So we can share this love and kindness, for instance, with our mind first, the aspiration, but also the practical part. And then we can do it with our body and our speech as well. Of course, it doesn't mean you have to go out and do it, you know, force it on anybody. But just whenever you have some sort of communication, whenever you have some thoughts of others, just radiate this love and kindness. Fill your mind with it and then radiate it, okay? Try to get into the habit of doing this. Not only, as I mentioned last week, I think, as an antidote, you know, to give up hatred and dislike and so forth, but also to fill your mind and make it immeasurable, as one of the names for these four immeasurable states of mind, or four Brahma Viharas: universal love and kindness, compassion, empathy, empathetic joy, and equanimity, all based on equanimity, free of bias. So whenever we're saying may, we really put it into your mind that you want this to happen. Don't just say those words or think that word, okay? Words that are similar, wishing this or aspiring for that. Okay, really think about that and the meaning behind it. May all sentient beings. This also could be expressed as every single sentient being. When we say all sentient beings, we are thinking vast amounts, uncountable, innumerable living beings, even just in our garden. And then beyond that, as we do in the meditation, then we think about all the different types of beings, but also then we distance-wise throughout your state, through the country, and so forth. And what this does, it starts to make the mind really vast. And we can eventually develop or generate and accumulate vast amounts of merit and the conditions that we need to be able to perceive the nature of reality and eventually attain enlightenment. If you find that you have some bias towards some living beings and then some aversion to others, just recognize that and say, okay, mind of equanimity. We are all interrelated. Actually, the beings that we probably get really irritated by, we have probably irritated them in the past too. And also, we've done something between ourselves and them have done something, maybe previous lives. Maybe we've been arguing brothers and sisters in previous lives or something, or husbands and wives or something like that. I'm half joking a little bit, but there's some teaching in there too. Okay, so all sentient beings, but also every single sentient being. So vast mind with innumerable thought of innumerable living beings, but also if somebody needs your help right now in front of you, that one, that little ant walking in front of you, the little snail in the garden, maybe eating your plants, your vegetables. Have loving kindness for them, then gently pick them up, put them somewhere else. Yeah, you can pick them up, they are nice. They have been your parents in previous lifetimes, and you have been theirs. So anyway, so all sentient beings, okay, whether you like them or not right now with our biased mind, whether that be to do with people and other types of creatures as well. Ones that we may find repulsive or scary, all of these living beings we want to radiate this loving kindness to. We want to have this feeling for them. Like I said, as a huge amount, or just that single one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So you can think from both those perspectives, okay? So may all sentient beings be happy. Happiness, of course, initially, this is worldly happiness. It's impermanent, actually has the nature of being unsatisfactory, and also has no self, no substantiality there. But eventually we can work our way towards developing what you could call lasting happiness, mahasukha, the bliss of nirvana, the bliss of enlightenment, of which is not bliss at all. Because we normally think of bliss, or we think of happiness as the opposite of the opposite. Okay, so happiness is the opposite of suffering or unhappiness. Bliss is the opposite of misery or something like that. Okay, so thinking dualistically. But that'll come. It'll come that we realize and eventually develop a mind that is free from this dualistic way of thinking. Initially, we should recognize it when it does arise and let it go. Okay. So may all sentient beings be happy. What is happiness? What causes happiness? The relative happiness has to be caused by a lack of ignorance, some sort of level of wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, generosity. All of these far-reaching attitudes cause happiness. And of course, the living beings, to be free from suffering, they must be free from engaging in the causes of suffering, such as ignorance, attachment, aversion, pride and arrogance, and so forth. Okay, so these states of mind cause the happiness or lack of, cause the suffering or freedom from, and also cause enlightenment or the lack of enlightenment. Okay, or lead towards enlightenment, I should say. So may all sentient beings be happy. Let's do our utmost best to make this happen, knowing that we don't have control over them. Okay, because I've had people in the past that actually said to me, oh, I do my best to be generous and the other good qualities and radiate them to others and share them with others. And then the other people, they don't react in a good way. So that's their problem. But don't not care for them. Do your best to help them to be happy, free from suffering and so forth. But at the same time, don't have any expectation that your practice will work on them. That's up to them. Okay. And what else can I say? May they live in safety and joy. So may the living beings feel safe. The more that we are virtuous, the more that we practice well, the more living beings feel safe around us, the more they will trust us. The more honest we are, the more trust that we will receive from others, the more confidence they will have in us. And in what we share with them. You know, the more they're going to listen, the more they'll think about it, contemplate it, and then possibly absorb their own mind with it eventually, and then act in this good way. So help others to feel safe around us. This is also, once again, the generosity of giving the protection from fear as well. And so may all living beings be happy. May they live in safety and joy. So as much as possible, may they be joyful. It doesn't mean sort of like crazily happy, but just peaceful, natural joy. May they themselves develop this universal loving kindness, universal compassion, and universal empathetic joy. Having joy in the successes of others, whether that be on the spiritual path or in worldly ways as well. But of course, if it's in worldly ways, may it be virtuous worldly ways. So may all sentient beings be happy. May they live in safety and joy. All sentient beings. Now this is, next bit breaks it up into different categories. Once again, this is coming from our own mind though, isn't it? I'll give you an example. Myself, some people would say, especially in a lot of Buddhist countries, say that I'm very tall, 6'3". What is it, 191 or 192 centimeters or something like that. And yes, compared to some people, I'm tall. I had a friend when I was in my mid-20s, and he was 6'8". So something like, I don't know what that is, over 200 centimeters anyway. And, you know, compared to him and also another friend as well, that he used to hang out with a lot, was 196 centimeters. So I think about 6'5". And so whenever I was with them, I was tiny. And also there was a period in my life where I played a bit of basketball. And when I was living in Sydney for a short period, when I was 20 years old, I played with a good team. It was called the Sydney Supersonics at that time, midweek competition though. That was before we had a national competition in Australia. And I was a guard. I don't know if you know anything about basketball, but I was up the top there because the big guys were the center and the forwards. And so even though I was getting close to being the height of them, compared to them, I was actually quite short. So that's just sharing some personal experience with you. So, you know, compared to an elephant, an ant is really tiny, but compared to a microscopic insect, the ant is huge. Compared to other planets, our planet is tiny to a lot of other planets. Saturn, for instance, Jupiter, we fit into there hundreds of times, I think. So it's all relative, all right? And then this can relate to animate objects, such as living beings, and also relate to inanimate objects. You can have a rock in your garden, could be small, but could be very big compared to a tiny pebble. Okay, so all sentient beings, whether weak or strong. Once again, this is relative too, isn't it? So weak or strong, short or tall. In fact, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. May they all be happy. So I'll just leave it there with, just think about the relativeness. I don't think that is actually a word, but I think you know what I mean. Everything is relative to what you're comparing it to what is the central point of reference, for instance. And so whether you see a living being as weak or strong is relative. Whether you see it as short or tall is relative. Okay, so now we want to start to free our mind from thinking in these opposites. That's why I mentioned interdependency earlier and interconnectedness. So we'll continue with this verse next week. We just went under a minute now, okay? And then, of course, we'll start to dissect the second part of this loving kindness, probably the week after. So hopefully we'll finish this verse, this second verse next week. And but no limit to the time, of course. And hopefully you've got a lot from this class. I didn't want to give too much, but I also wanted to introduce a little bit of the way of looking at it from a wisdom point of view, okay? Interdependency, interconnectedness, okay? Free from substance. Okay, so hopefully you've got a lot from the class. Hopefully you are happy and that you have a lovely day ahead or evening ahead and week ahead. And I look forward to seeing you next